As I said before, my neighbor is still with my mom. He stuck around for some stupid reason. I don't know why. Whatever. He's a real good guy. Dan was like, you know what? I think they planned it. I think he knew his wife was dying because his wife did die a couple years ago. I think he knew his wife was dying. So him and your mom got together and they just waited it out. Now, first of all, the idea that my mom could be a criminal mastermind when, if you don't hand her the jar of pickles or whatever the fuck it was in enough time that she will literally blow her top. There's no time! Like, the fact that you think she could become a criminal mastermind is hilarious. That in and of itself is hilarious. But if you think the two of them work together to become a criminal mastermind duo, that's comedy gold in itself.
When someone meets my family, they inevitably ask, "How are you, you?" Why is that, you ask? Have I got a story for you?
Now, on the topic of cheating on your wife and affairs and what have you, whatever you want to call them, my mom is very Christian in her thought processes. And what I mean by that is, like, if she hears someone cheated on someone else, like there's a cheating scene, she's like, oh, what a hoe! Those sluts! And, like, she's always been that way. But when you get to the point where, now when I say she's very Christian in that way, we're also going to jump into the regular Christian way, where it's only bad if it doesn't affect you. My mom's a huge Trump supporter, surprising absolutely no one. And when the Stormy Daniels stuff came out, they were talking about it on Fox News all day long, and that's all my mom watches. Actually, that's a lie. Now she watches Fox News and Fox Business Network. So make of that what you will. It really doesn't change anything. When the Stormy Daniels stuff was happening and they were talking about it, my mom, at one point, it is really hot. Like, I can't even express to you how hot and sweaty I am right now. It's disgusting. So Fox News just constantly reporting on it, sometimes people say shit that is, like, so out of left field and doesn't fit into their character that you're just like... So we're sitting at the table, and my mom goes, it's not really an affair if you're just fucking them. This is wrong on two levels for me. First, my mom almost never curses. If my mom is cursing, that means she's at, like, maximum annoyance level. So hearing her say fucking was just like, oh, what? And then second, her being the good Christian woman that she is, my entire life, if she's heard about cheating or a scandal or something, she's been like, oh, those sluts can't control themselves. But it being now pertinent to her, I realize she can rationalize this out as, because I'm a mistress, though she would have never considered herself the mistress. And we'll probably get into some weird stuff related to that in this episode and maybe on in the future too. But she would have never considered herself the mistress. Never. Even though that's exactly what she was. Granted, my neighbor's wife didn't live here. She lived in a different house far away, and clearly they didn't get along very well. But still, married, dating my mom. And this also upset, like, the neighbor across from us, who was really good friends with my neighbor and his wife for many, many years, and saw this, like, betrayal. Betrayal! I can understand that. Totally can understand that. I just think it's funny that now that it's some situation she might be in, she was like, oh, no, it's totally okay. Because she's dating a married man, now it's fine. You get it. But also this gives the implication that no one wants to think about when she's like, if you're just fucking them. And nobody ever wanted to think of that. And I'm sorry. Like, my friends sometimes would be like, I bet your mom and your neighbor are out there fucking just to fuck with me, and I want to bleach my brain, and I had to share it with you so you also can commiserate with me on the desire to bleach your brain. Don't nobody want to think about that. Nobody. A couple of years ago at a family dinner, probably for a holiday of some sort, we're all together, my neighbor's there because he usually hangs out with our family for holidays anyway. and we're all sitting there eating. I don't remember if it's related to the Stormy Daniels, Donald Trump stuff. I don't remember if that's what it was related to, but the family as a whole was having this conversation about cheating and having like mistresses and stuff, especially if you're rich. And someone in my family says, well, if you're married and you're not getting enough nookie from your wife, then you might as well just go find a mistress. My ears perk up at I'm like, what the fuck is happening with that conversation at the end of the table? And I look, and there's like 4 adults like laughing their fool heads off. And one of them is my neighbor. And I don't even know if he was too drunk to realize how incredibly funny that is, specifically in his case, considering he was technically still married when he started dating my mom. So, like, she is the mistress. And even if he didn't realize that's why it was so funny to the rest of us, like, ooh, comedy gold! Comedy gold! He also likes to drink, which a lot of old people like to drink. I don't mean like he's a raging alcoholic or anything. It's not like that at all. No. He just enjoys drinking. A bunch of my family members do too. That's just who they are. They get together and they drink. Like, I get together with my friends who play video games. That's what we do. A lot of the older people, a lot of boomers get together and drink. It makes sense. I mean, there's still people who do that now too, but it's just like not my personal bag. I will say one of my favorite things. I like to be around people when they're drinking because then I get to people watch and it's amazing. And I like listening to people saying shit when they're drunk because, oh, some of it is also comedy gold. Oh, so good. So good. There was this point where we were having some family event dinner. Again, probably a holiday. And my neighbor was wasted. And he's one of those people that when they're wasted, they get like that happy, friendly kind of drunk where they say cute stuff. And I'm used to seeing that in people like my age or younger when they're wasted. I don't usually see old people wasted. He turned into... I just love being able to see people like at various stages of life. When you're wasted, you all regress to that same like happy-go-lucky individual that you once were. I mean, obviously, if you're a raging alcoholic, you're gonna start raging and do that. But I mean, a lot of people, just like their inhibitions lowered, their brain processes stop functioning properly, and they become that little cute person who says dumb shit. And my neighbor, when he's wasted, he turns into that. And I've never seen a person on the verge of being a senior citizen before turn into that person. So to see this like adult at the table being like, I like you, and do I know you? Like my mom and like hanging off her, do I know you? Like, I've never seen that in an adult. And therefore, I'm okay with him getting wasted because he says dumb shit and it's fun to watch. My mom will be like, blah. Then, and later, be like, he's so embarrassing. I'm like, I don't know, this is kind of a fun embarrassing. I think she needs to stop worrying so much about what other people think because it's just going to bring her down. You just got to let it go sometimes. You just got to let it go and let people have fun. Everybody has to have fun. But also, in order to get there, you have to think that you're in some kind of safe environment. So I'm happy that my neighbor thinks he can be safe here. He also did a lot of, what's your name? Even though he has met everybody a bajillion times. Which, amazing. No thought processes. Like neurons firing, just pew, 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 not hitting anything else. Love that kind of drunk. Love it. Okay, so as a whole group, we often draw this comparison between Dan and my neighbor. Whereas we view my neighbor as just like an older version of Dan. Now, that might seem mean. Let me explain. Actually, if Dan's watching this, let me explain. Of the group as a whole, we would say Dan is the closest to being an everyman. Like, he's the closest to being normal / average of us. Now, that being said, none of us in this group are normal. Like, none of my friends, normal. We don't have a single normal person at all. Dan being the closest to normal, we put him in that average category. My neighbor is very close to normal, to the point where I might even put him in like normal people situation. That's where he fits as a human being. He's very normal, very average. When they started dating, not Dan and my neighbor, my mom and my neighbor, started dating, they made me start chaperoning their dates. I didn't want to be there. Nobody wanted to be there. Sometimes they'd be like, "Oh, they didn't invite the Banshee and her husband over. You're also going to chaperone our date." Why? So my mom has this weird thing where she's like, "I want it to feel like a family, so we have to eat family dinner together." And for like the first 6 months, I've definitely talked about this before, when I was chaperoning their dates at least once a week, I wasn't allowed to talk. Every time I opened my mouth, my mom would be like, "Ah!" without actually moving her finger up to her mouth, because that would have given it away. So it was just a subtle, very subtle, about anything I said, so I just didn't talk. And now, that's not even to say that my neighbor doesn't have a sense of humor. He does. He's kind of funny sometimes. Like, it's not like he doesn't have a sense of humor at all. So I could say things, and it would be fine, but I wasn't allowed to talk for the longest time. Very average, has a sense of humor, what have you. He's not a person you have to go out of your way to impress. So my mom, when we started having to sit at the table, she would just fucking lie all the time. And that made me want to talk more, which meant that she would have to speak and then immediately turn to me and be like, "Argh!" So every time she would say something, she'd be telling a story. She'd be like, "Yeah, so I went to the store today and I did this, and this, and this, and I had, and that's pretty much what chaperoning the dates was like. I would have to sit there and not say anything and listen to her lie for however long they wanted me to sit there, which is whack. Nobody wants to do that. And I'm like, why are you trying to impress? He's very easily impressed. Like, you don't need to lie. And for some reason, we had this conversation one time while I'm sitting there chaperoning their date, where my neighbor was like, "Yo, have you ever bought any of like the irregular socks cheaper? Like, have you ever gone out and bought them?" My mom's like, "No." And I'm like, What? I'm actually not wearing irregular socks right now. But for my entire life, my mom pretty much only bought irregular socks because they're cheaper. And when you say irregular, like, what the fuck does that mean? If you've never seen them at like a Walmart or what have you, maybe an odd lot, a job lot, that kind of place. Irregular socks have like one stitch wrong, or part of the triangle on your heel is a different color. Like, whatever. Who the fuck cares? Who's gonna see your socks? Are they comfortable? Do they fit? Yes, they're fine. They're totally fine. And we were talking about how some of my clothes, I still have clothes to this day that are hand-me-downs from my sister. Like, I still have 1 or 2 t-shirts from my sister, and I definitely have a pair of shorts from my college that were my sister's as hand-me-downs. Like, I definitely have hand-me-down clothes. I had way more as a kid when they were both, like, living in the house, obviously. And I was like, yo, hand-me-down clothes? Great. Because then you don't have to buy any clothes. Whatever, don't care. I'm not a fashionista. I don't give a fuck. If it fits, I'm going to put it on. I do appreciate clothes as gifts as well. They don't have to be hand-me-down. This is actually a shirt from Mike. Now that I look down at it, I appreciate it. I'm not like, I have to have your old clothes because that's weird. No. I just, hey, if I don't have to go buy shit, I'm happy. Guys, I haven't left the house in like 2 weeks, okay? I don't give a shit. This pandemic has been great. So my mom's over here lying. She's like, "No, I've never purchased irregular socks." And it took every ounce of willpower not to immediately turn my head and go, "You're a fucking liar. Blasphemer. How dare you? That is the worst lie I've ever heard." Why is socks the line that you refuse to draw? Like a regular cheap, what the fuck? You're saving some money. Why? Are you showing him the socks? Like, I probably at that point was wearing irregular socks. I should have just taken off my shoes and been like, Look at what she does not buy. He's not a person you need to impress. Why was irregular socks the line in the sand that you drew? Why? 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 And in case any of you are wondering, I still have to chaperone their dates. It's been like 5 years. Maybe more now that I think about it. But she still makes me sit down to dinner with them as if we're a happy family. No, we're all adults here. No one should have to sit with you and chaperone your date. Have fun. Do your thing. I don't care. I don't give a fuck what you do. Go! Do your thing. Oh, okay. So, speaking of weird things with her, my sister, the Banshee, went to church with my neighbor's father-in-law, his wife's dad. His dad stayed here, like, in town. And he's kind of well-known in the community. And my sister, the Banshee, wants to be friends with everybody, and every person she's ever met is her best friend, and she will follow them to the ends of the earth for literally no reason, other than the fact that she's very, very lonely. So they were kind of close, actually, and unfortunately, his father-in-law died. He was old, not like he was a spring chicken by any means. My sister was talking to me, and she was like, no, Mom can't go to the funeral. I was like, why not? I don't understand. Why can't she? My mom was like really upset about stuff at that point, and like I didn't put two and two together. My sister was like, that is the neighbor's wife's father-in-law or father. Like that's the wife's dad. The mistress can't go to the funeral. The wife was still alive at the time, and the mistress can't go to the funeral. It would be really funny if my neighbor's wife would come to visit, because my mom would just like lock herself in her room and like try to close the windows in the front so no one could see us. She's like, I can't go see him now. And we're like, because you're the mistress. You're not supposed to see him now. What? Yeah, you don't need to hide. You live here. Everybody knows. At one point, my mom got absolutely furious because someone addressed a wedding invitation to the two of them on the same letter. And my mom was like, the postman will know we're together now! No! And we're like, everybody knows! You do everything together! Everybody knows! Also, the postmaster has no idea who the fuck you are! He might know your address, he doesn't know who you are! Who the fuck cares? Oh. And in semi-relation to that, my mom gets so angry still to this day. She'd be like, if my neighbor's like, oh, I'm going to go hang out with my friend today, and mom would be like, okay, go do what you want. And like, this tells me he's super average as a guy because he has no idea what go do what you want means. It never means go do what you want. Never! There's never a situation where go do what you want means go do what you want. You don't do it. That is what they are saying. That is what the lady is saying there. And it drives me crazy that she's like, how dare he hang out with other people besides me? I should always be there. No, you should not. If any of you are ever in a situation where your partner is like, I'm the only person in the world that matters now, get the fuck out. Get the fuck out of there. You don't need to be there. Remember that. If you don't take anything else from any of Unfairy Tales, remember that. If your partner is like, I'm the only one that matters, nobody else matters, you can only have me, get the fuck out. That is not good. You do not want that. Really, what my mom, when she'd be telling him things like, oh yeah, go hang out with your friends, yeah, I'm not upset about it. Really, what she's saying in code is, I'm so upset and angry that you know people besides me! And they spent like 8 months last year, actually the part of last year and the beginning of this year, living in Arizona together, where they could only see people that they both knew. So, I mean, I guess my mom got her wish in that respect. There's a place they can go where the only people they know both of them. So my mom can do everything with him. And I mean, like, that was a huge boon to me. That was like the first time I've really lived since I left college. Like, I got up in the morning. I was happy. I never woke up with a headache. I never felt like I had to spring out of bed and not fall asleep so someone can ask me if I'm okay. And just, oh, that was wonderful for me. And again, I'm going to reiterate, if any of you are ever in a relationship where your partner wants you to only be with them all the time, get the fuck out, okay? Get the fuck out. Get the fuck out of it. It's not good for you. It's not good for them. Get out. However, in the one case of my mom and my neighbor, if they want to go do that shit in Arizona, go right ahead. I don't give a fuck. There's a little postscript part where when I wrote my notes for this season, they had just left for Arizona. So that was like many, many months before I'm actually filming this, which is insane. That is how backed up on shit I needed to do I got. To the point where we're like 10 months maybe after I wrote up the notes for this season. And now I'm getting to film it, which is bonkers. But it tells you the kind of like, when I say I'm like, oh, maybe I'll finish this within a time set that I set. Like, it never happened. Never happened. Shit always comes up.
Hey there, guys and gals. Thanks so much for watching, as always. If you click the link on the left, you'll be taken to the previous episode. If you click the link on the right, you'll be taken to the playlist, where you can watch them all.
Remember how I said pretty much all my mom watches is Fox News? Well, she's just a homegrown politician now because of it.